Perfect. All right, we'll run through the objectives and then just get started on that activity. All right. One, Janak.
Students will use constructor functions to create objects.
Yeah, so you're already doing that. We'll keep doing that throughout the class. And that's like one piece of the puzzle. And then number two, Hayden.
Students will use prototype to share projects.
Great. So you can use the constructor function in conjunction with something called the prototype. And you could share properties with all the objects that you create. And if you're wondering, like, why would you do any of this? It's around inheritance, right? So you write something once, and then you can use it in other places, right? So imagine you write, in the real world, people have databases, right? So they store, I mean, you're storing text into files right now with fs.read file, write file, right? So you can also store data into a database program like MySQL, and there's more, Oracle. They all basically work the same, MS SQL. And you'll have like tables, just like you have files and on your computer, you'll have tables. So information will go into tables, and the table names will be like this, like users, ID, name, email, password, hash. And so you'll have a table like this with columns information, and then you'll have like a constructor function named user, and it'll be mapped to the users table. And then you might have another table like, let's say, pets, and each pet's going to have a name and an ID, and it's going to be linked to the users table. And then you'll have a constructor function for pets, and then you'll link both the pets and the users tables constructor functions together. I mean, I'm just showing you a real world example. Totally don't expect you guys to understand this right now, but there is a real world example of this, and it's used all the time. It's kind of cool because you don't actually have to know how it works to use it. Most people don't, but you will. Okay, going back. And number three, let's go to Sandy. Yeah, so you can change what this is. For a while, we console log this, and it would be the window, or it would be the object, or it would be the button that we clicked on. But you can actually change what this is, right? And we'll do that. And the reason why we're going to be doing that is because we need to do that in order to link the constructor functions together. Number four, let's go to Rob.
Students will link two constructor functions together.
Yep, so we're going to use what we learned in objectives 1 and 2 to link both things together, and that's called inheritance. 5, Nick?
Students will go over Hangman without constructors.
Yeah, so we did Hangman a long time ago, but we'll go over it again without constructors. And then right after that, we're going to go over with constructor functions. Like, how would you model like a Hangman game with constructor functions? Although that's not really a real world scenario, it does basically force you to think about re-architecting something from a script to more of an object-oriented way of modeling. And then number 7, and I'll go over what object-oriented means. It'll make more sense once we do this part. Number 7, let's go to Joe.
Students will go over a tough recursion problem.
Yeah, so we'll go over like a real recursion problem, and I'll give you a link to a video that goes over it again in a lot of detail. So that's what we're doing today, and let's go over this activity that you guys did. So make a node app, a node file that creates pet objects with 3 characteristics: name, type, tricks. I guess this would be trick. Should be fine. And then each pet should look something like this. So this is what the object's going to look like. And then we should store many pets into an array called pets. right? So I guess we have an array, and then we have like many pet objects inside of it. And then the bonus was to store the array of pets into a file so that any pets made are saved and retrieved and set to the pets variable. So if we save 5 pets and then rerun the file, we should still have 5 pets. All right, so let's go ahead and try this. I'm going to go into the terminal. How do I make a folder, Aaron? Nice. We'll just do mkdir 02. Go into it. I don't need whatchamacallit, npm. Right? I mean, I don't need a package.json file because I'm not going to install any packages. We are going to use fs for the bonus, but that's just the bonus. So I'll make a file, touch, we'll call it pet creator. I typically try to use snake case when I make files, and then camel case for my variables in JavaScript. In Python, people just use snake case all the time, and they never use camel case. It doesn't really matter though. All right, cool. So going in here. All right, so let's create the pet constructor function. So let's go over to Mo's row. How would I make the pet constructor function? Oh, it's okay. Cool. Function. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Excellent. So now we need the name. We need the type T, and then what was the last one? Trick, right? So I'll just TY, TR. And now what am I going to do? I'm going to do NAM instead of name because it's like it's inside JavaScript. And this dot what? Trick equals TR. Awesome. So this is our pet constructor function, right? And so how would I use this to create a pet? Let's go to Haven.
Bar Mr. Whiskers equals new capital pet. And then you want to pass in strings of Mr. Whiskers, kitty, and I said smoke rings.
Smoke rings. Nice. Cool. So now let's console log this. Run it in the terminal. So how do I run it, Aaron? Perfect. Great. So we have that exact object, so we know it worked. Good. So now let's use inquire to ask the user to make pets, to make a pet. So let me go into the previous code from before. And where was that? I'm going to copy over this package.json file. Now I'm going to run npm install. Great. And now I have the inquire package, just like I did before. And now I'll just grab the code to use inquire. And I'm missing something at the very top. What am I missing? Kristen's row? Oh, okay, here we go. Take this and throw it up. I wasn't missing it, but I thought I was missing it, but thanks for knowing what I meant. So I'm gonna get rid of that password. Don't need the password. Now I need to change up these questions over here. So I need to ask, what is your pet's name? Say pet name. And we'll say this is going to be an input as well. What is your pet's type? Pet type. Also an input. And we'll say, what is your trick? And then get rid of choices. Pet trick. And then we'll just say, do you want to make another? Do you want to add another pet? There we go. And I'm going to add in, I'm going to change this up a tiny bit. This dot pet owner. There we go. So I'm going to just add in an owner right there, pet owner, right? Just an extra argument up here. And now I'm going to ask another question right here. Who's the owner? And now I'm going to just console log this and see what the response is, right? Just check it out. Who's the owner? Haven, Whiskers, and then doesn't really matter. All right, great. So it looks like this. This is what the object looks like right now, right? So although it's kind of redundant because inquire response is already an object, we're going to use the properties in it to create a pet object with the pet constructor. And if you're wondering, like, why would I ever do that? If it's already an object, there are some benefits to using constructor function, right, over a plain object, because I can link this to another constructor function, right? Whereas a normal object, I mean, you can't. So now what I'll do is I'll use that constructor function down here. Var pet, new pet, and I'll call this res. And this was, let's see, if I go back to the terminal, res.petOwner, res.petName, res.petType, res.petTrick. Yep, so just like that. And we'll just console log this object right here. Delete this, delete this. Try this one more time. Okay, it looks like I screwed up. What did I screw up? Reference error n is not defined at new pet.
You forgot to change the argument and
Yeah, you're right. Thank you. PN, PTY, PTR, because I changed these up, so I have to change these. Okay, so now let's try that one more time. Perfect. So now we see that it was made with the constructor function, pet, right here. All right, so now we have it making one pet. We need to add it to the array. So we'll make a data structure over here. So how would we do that? Let's go to Sandy's row. do var pets, perfect. Perfect, empty array, right? And over here, we'll just do pets.pushp. Right here, and now we need to call this function over again. So we'll wrap, we have to call this code over again. So I'll wrap this in a function called create pet. Take everything in this code right here, move it in this function. And then over here, what I'll do is like, if something, I'm gonna recall the create pet function. Right, so what would I write right here? Let's go to Janak's row. Res.confirm. That's it. Perfect, right? So if they typed in, if they hit yes or no, or if they just pressed enter because the default value is going to be true, then res.confirm will be true, and then it'll rerun the create pet function for us, right? And then it's going to keep adding pets into the pets array right here. And if they hit no, it'll stop, right? It'll stop right there. Okay, so now what we need to do is just test this out, see if it works. Oh, yes, I do. Thank you. Actually, let's like not call it and just see what happens. Nothing. And then run this. Good call. Sandy. Oh, is it Kermit? Sorry. Can't go back now. Frog. Guitar. One more. So this is what the array looks like, the pets array. We'll stop right there. And this is what our array looks like right now. Right? We have two pets in our pets array, Sandy's pet and Kristen's pet. Right here. Cool. But now if I run the file again, right here, right? So it doesn't remember Kristen's pet and Sandy's pet. So now we need to make it remember. So we're going to use a package, an internal library, the var, which library, Janak? Janak's row? We're going to use require. FS, yeah, exactly. And I'll just name it F right there, just so, or I'll name it F. I'll name it F. Then let me look for where we used this before. And I have to find that, 33. Not there. It's probably 34. Damn it. All right, I give up. I'm going to look for let's Google it. Write file sync. There we go. And right here, I guess I could put it into a JSON file. I guess that would make sense. So I'll put it into pets.json, json.stringify pets, and this is how we write to the file. Right? We're gonna completely override it every time. Every time we make a new pet, we're gonna take the entire pets array. We're gonna stringify it, meaning we're gonna take it from an array form into a string form, and we're gonna just write it right to the file. Right? And then on load, what we'll do over here is we'll say var pets JSON string equals fs.read file. I'm just gonna guess, it's probably right. Or if it's wrong, it'll tell me. Right. If pets JSON string dot length greater than 0, meaning if there's something in this file, I want to load it into the pets array, right? So, and what I'll do right here, I'll do var pets. I'll initialize it up there, so I don't have to initialize it twice. And over here, I'll do pets equals JSON dot something and what goes in this blank. Let's go to Rob's row. 4-letter word starts with P. Parse, nice. Okay, so is that 5 letters? Thanks for knowing what I meant. Parse. Why did I think that was 4 letters? Parse. I forgot the E, I guess. Or, yeah. Okay, so now let's try it. And looks like I did something wrong. FS is not defined, of course, because I named it F right here. Get rid of that. Go to the bottom. And what did I do? There's no such file called pets.json. Interesting. Okay. So let's just make that file. Yeah, pen file sync would create it. Or, well, when we read the file on the first try, we just need a file there, though. I guess like what we could do is like just create one if there's nothing, if there's an error. And let's say, what did I do wrong here? On line 16, unexpected token key in JSON. Just comment this one line out. Okay, that worked. So the error is somewhere here. So I'm going to just comment this stuff out. I'm going to just see if line 13 passes. It does. So I did something wrong. Here or here. So let me console log that right there. Maybe it's not what I think it is. Because what I think it is it should be like an empty string. Interesting, gives me buffer. Oh, okay, well I need to do UTF-8. I think that might have done it. Yeah, it had the word pets.json in it, which I shouldn't have in it, because then it thinks that it's an array. So a few things wrong. Thanks, Kit. Okay, so now let's try one more time. Okay, nothing. And let's see if got to line 18. I want to see if we can get to line 18 here. All right, it didn't get to line 18 yet because there's nothing in the pets JSON string. So now let's just try something. So we'll just do me. Okay, so now let's take a look at pets.json. Okay, we have this in pets.json now. So now when I run this again, we should see hit line 18. Got to line 18, awesome, right? And it prints out what's inside of it. So who is the owner? Kristen, duck, cat, fetch. No. Cool. So now we have these two in the array, right? And if we take a look at the pets.json file, we store both of them. So going back to what we did, right? We started off just creating this constructor function and then using it to create an object, right? We use new to create an object with it. And then after we created an object, we just console logged it. And once we got there, we used inquire to create a pet object for us, right? And after we got there, we made a pets variable and made an array. And then we pushed the object that we created with that constructor function into that array and console logged it. And then we turned that whole inquire thing into a function called create pet so that we could keep asking them, do you want to create a pet again, right? And then we call that function inside res.confirm, because res.confirm would be, do you want to add another pet? And they hit yes, or they hit enter. The default value for that was true. And we have to call the function at the end because otherwise it won't ask them the question in the very first place. And then over here, we had to create a pets.json file. We could have also made a pets.txt file. They're both fine. And then we had to use UTF-8. It didn't work otherwise without it. Thanks, Kit. And so we ran this to read the file pets.json. We check right here if it's greater than 0, meaning there's an array inside of it. And then we turn that JSON string into an actual JSON object and load that up into pets. If it's not greater than 0, meaning this is the first time we're ever doing this, we initialize pets to be an empty array right here. So let me send you guys this code to go over. Press this. Cool. And let's see. Nick, give me a thumbs up when you have it unzipped and npm installed and running in your terminal. And got a number of students online. So I'm going to make a breakout room for you guys online so you can discuss in the breakout room. Just making one room. I'm going to invite everyone into it. If someone wants to share their screen and start going over it with each other, that'd be awesome. And Nick, just give me a thumbs up when you're good. Hi, Nick. You good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, 15 minutes to go over this with your partners.
It allows you to work with it. So when you console log, so let's say when you want, let's say when you write the object and that file is not, and that object not a string here, it will convert it for you. No, I cannot.
It's great. Awesome. That's great. And use Bootstrap?
Yeah.
So the problem is that way to spring. No, this one. Yeah, so. That's a good
Cool. Use sticky footer too. Awesome. Great. Good job, man. That's your kid?
Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
my son.
Nice, nice. You take a picture of that? Or?
This is on my profile on Facebook. I downloaded from somewhere.
Nice, nice. Looks good. Good job, man. Awesome. On to 3.
Absolutely.
On to number 3. Cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great job. Thanks for showing that.
What is what is function is that's this test. So it's an object to convert this thing into all these functions. So the result is this. String is yeah. But in console log, in console log is I would put it like console log. I'm going to show you there. It knows the defined console log object. So it has all the formats. Right? So but if you do that something. And also from string you can the parsing is very easy to understand from a string.
What's up?
Are we skipping it?
The Firebase homework.
There's a set, whatever number seven.
So 7, yeah. So 7, you could try on your own if you want to. It didn't really make much sense.
What's that?
It didn't really make much sense to us.
Okay.
So we just made it a requirement to use in project 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's not a requirement usually. So we just made it required to use it. Yeah.
Thinking about this.
It's in the GitLab though, if you want to try it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. That's a good thing. You can associate reading from one file, bringing reading from the object, right? And taking an object and storing it. Oh, yeah. You don't have the meat of the activities, the way you break. So now, in fire, you don't have to do refresh. Or RNG, process that RNG. It's more into that. So I wonder when you use it, but it depends on the use case too. If you want to automate something, you use business processes, right? That are the big, because you're automating, you know, mostly for human figures. Yeah. You can access it from whatever is there. Right now, I'm there. So, yeah, the project is actually the process implement or the expert parameter access. Yeah, the third just take it on the user to oh yeah, way not really, but we have to do this closer and then with
What's up?
I noticed too in terminal when you have the old
The Chrome console.
Yeah, when you're when you're in the terminal,
Mhm.
you're just you're pulling up what's already been pushed to the file saying pulled up already, but it doesn't have the constructor on it anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't. It won't. That's something you only see in the node thing. Yeah.
First time.
Yeah. When you console log it, you'll see it because it's just like a reference.
Okay.
Yeah. The actual object is just an object.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at like the first two that were in here when you said
Mhm.
the program where we added two more and they have the pet constructor.
Yeah, I
but
get.
the other two don't.
Yeah, I guess that's like the one downside to it. Yeah. If you want to reset it, what you do is you do. There's like a doc constructor property, I think, and you can set the constructor property to pet.
Okay.
Yeah. How is everything okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Excited about coding.
Now, looking at
Oh, what's up? Hmm?
Can you remind me of the steps to be able to run an
Let me just share my screen real quick. Oh yeah.
I created those.
Just do npm install.
Literally, I created those JSON files.
Yeah. Just
It was the
Oh, I'm just looking at the right how to create them. So we use the
all right, guys. Close the breakout room. All right, guys. Here's another activity. This was the one we did at the end of Wednesday. So it's a bit simpler than the first one, but I just want to make sure we finish it. So you're going to make your own constructor function to create objects. You're going to make an animal constructor function that makes an object with 5 keys in it. Name, species, has fur, can swim, can fly. You're going to use the animal constructor function to create 3 objects. Console log each object. Cool. So we'll do this 10 minutes. Shouldn't take more than 10. That's good. Good job. That's it. Guys, let's go over this activity. All right, so let me just copy this activity, make a new file. Go for, we'll call it animal.js. And let's write out function. Let's go to Fernando's row. Excellent.
parentheses, and,
I'm putting in.
oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry.
No worries.
I was just reading off my. Oh, this dot name.
Perfect.
This dot speech equals. So don't we keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
This dot has fur equals fur. This can swim equals swim. This dot can fly equals fly.
Perfect. Now, typically, guys, these arguments will be the same as these properties right here, but that can be confusing in it. So I just make these different from these so you can distinguish the two. But typically what you'll see is that these will be the same as these. Right. So let's go ahead and use this to create an animal, var 1. And go ahead, Aaron.
New animal. I said rhino. Species is like extant genera.
Extend Gennaro. Extend Gennaro. Spelling that wrong, but whatever. False.
That's true. False.
False, true, false. That would be so scary if they could fly. Oh my God.
They have it to themselves.
That would be so screwed. All right, Jyotika.
Lion. I don't know that complicated name. I can Google.
Mammal. True.
False.
Well, they could swim, right?
Yeah. Oh, they
Yeah.
Sure.
I guess, like, I don't know. Maybe in the ocean they wouldn't swim, but no one can really swim in the ocean. No, never mind. Okay. Mammal, true, false. There you go. And we'll just console log these three. A1, A2, A3, and just test it. Great. So we see animal, and then we see another one, and then we see one last one right here. Perfect. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is for the prototype, and it's a little bit easier to see the prototype and understand it in the HTML browser. So let me just make a file, make it HTML, 5 prototype. And so now I'll do var a equals an empty array. And open this up inside the browser. And we see this array right here. And if I open it up, it says length : 0, right? So if I do a.length, it's 0, right? So length is a property kind of given to it automatically. Now here's the thing. There's this thing called proto, and it's underscore, underscore, proto, underscore, underscore. And this points to the proto. So there's a proto property, and it points to the prototype. It's pretty crazy, but when we make this right here, this is when we're making an array. This is another way of making an array. They're both the same. They do the same thing. Wait, array. Oops. There we go. So there's a constructor function array. And it's part of JavaScript. And you can use it to create arrays. So if I do this, let's say var a equals new array. It's an array, and it works the same, right? So when we do var, if we do var a equals this is a shortcut for the above. Just take us out of this. Yeah, so arrays have a proto-prop that points to the prototype. So what is all of that, right? So what is all of this? So let me just make a new file. So let me just write something down over here to explain this. Array is a construction built into JavaScript that you can use to create arrays. This is a shortcut to the method. All right, going over here. Everything in JavaScript can be created, is created with constructor functions, is ultimately created with constructor functions, and all constructor functions have a property that points to a special object called the prototype. Going back over here, see this array was created with the array constructor function, and it has a special property called proto. This proto property itself is a type. It points to the prototype, right? This is an object right here. It's an object. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just create another construction and put some functions on the prototype. And I know you're probably like, I'm not completely certain like what the purpose of all of it is or how it's up together. We're kind of building up the pieces for inheritance to go over how to relate functions to one another, right? We're just putting the building blocks together right now. So what I'm going to do right now is create a constructor function. Well, I'll just take the one we did already. If I want to change, if I want to change the constructor the prototype object of this animal function, I do animal.prototype. Let's say ability, and over here, if this dot can swim, we'll just alert swimming. I'll just name this swim. So now we'll just make a object we did before, the Rhino object, and we'll just take a look. We'll just take a look at the Rhino object in the console. So all I did was copy the animal constructor function. I did animal.prototype swim and set that to a function. And if this dot can't swim, if can't swim is true, then we're going to alert swimming, right? And I guess maybe else alert can't swim, cannot swim. And then I'm making an object right here, A1, I'll call it R to make it easier. And then we'll take a look at what R looks like. So there we see R. But we don't see the swim function. We don't see the swimming. So let's go to Sandy's row, right? Monica's row. Where would the swim function be in the prototype? So how would I get there? And now what do I do? It's not here, but right, we'll just open up this one and we see the swim right here. So it's in the prototype, right? So before, let me see if I can. Right here, I said animal.prototype.swim, right? So I'm putting this property on the prototype object, right? So animal constructor function, prototype is the object. It's a special object called the prototype. And on the swim function on this prototype object right here. And now let's call, so I'll do r.swim. And it's just a reference to the function. So what do I do to call it? Perfect, parentheses, right? And it alerts right here, it says swimming. And if I do r dot, let's see, r can swim equals false, and I try r dot swimming, and it says cannot swim. Okay, so let's go back to the file. .swim, it'll trigger, but swim isn't directly in the R object. It's in the prototype of the R object. Okay, so we went over like how to update the prototype, kind of what the prototype is, but what's the point of the prototype, right? So like what's the point of the prototype? Why ever use it? So you can use constructor functions to make many objects, to make many similar objects. Right? So you can use this one function to create many similar objects, right? Using the new property and calling the constructor function, passing in custom arguments, right? But let's say you have functions. You have functions, and you want to add functions as properties in the constructor function. If you want to reduce the amount of memory, you can put them in the prototype because they all share the prototype. So let me write that out. So if you have functions that you want to add into the objects that you're creating, you can save memory by putting those functions into the constructor functions, into the constructor's prototype. All objects created with a constructor function share the same exact prototype object. Right? So if you want to add functions in, right? So over here we have this swim function, right? And we're saying if this animal can swim, then we alert swimming. Else alert cannot swim. I'll change this to a console log so it'll be easier to deal with. And so I'm putting the swim function on the prototype. So all animal objects that are with the animal function, animal constructor function, they share the same type, and we can call the swim function from them. So let's create another animal. Create the lion. A2, and if I do A2, open it up, open up the property, which points to the prototype, we see the swim function right here. Right, so if I call A2.swim, go back over here, we see swimming. I didn't reach it, that's why I didn't console log. Now I'll make another thing. This is an object, and this is a way of making an object. Another way of making an object is new object. They both work the same way, right? There's a constructor function built into JavaScript called object. If I open this up, this proto property points to the object, points to the prototype of this object constructor function. If I open it up, we'll see all these functions that are inside the object prototype right here. And let's see. So if I do ob._proto like this, what we see right here. And let's see, if I do .proto, let's see if that works. Yeah, so this is high up as it goes. This is high up. At the very top of JavaScript, there's null. And then from null, there are objects coming down. So there was a chart that I sent out that I showed you guys. Let's see if I can find it. It's a really good chart that this guy made. It's the last one, thanks. Yeah, right here. This chart's really great. So at top, what you just saw was null, right? So the object constructor function that we just explored, object.prototype, is an object with functions, and above it is null, right? And from there, like created. So if I take a look at A1, it's gone. It's okay. I'll just remake it. What did I screw up? Line 46. Oh, didn't cut.
Hey, Pavan, real quick.
Try that one more time. Okay, we have R, that's the rhino, right? If I do R proto, it's the prototype, right, with the swim. If I do r.proto.proto, it's object.prototype. If I do r.proto.proto, it's null, right? So it was this. We go one up, it's the prototype, it's the animal prototype. We go one more up, it's the object.prototype. We go one more up, we're null, right? How do you use this in your coding? It's more like you're just understanding how JavaScript works, right? I'm just trying to show you how JavaScript works, right? I haven't shown you yet how to link two constructor functions together, right? That's the most useful part of today, right? This is more of like just having an understanding of how JavaScript works. And null is at the very top, and then there's object.prototype, and then from there, the object itself has a prototype, and then there's the object. Send out this link right here. And let me send out this file for you to go over. Yeah.
Hey, Pavan, got a question.
Yeah. Oh, why nulls at the top? Yeah, I'm not sure. That's the way they kind of made it. This whole thing is called prototypal inheritance, special to JavaScript. And I don't think there might be like one or two other languages of this. So it's very specific to JavaScript. It's also very difficult to understand compared to object-oriented languages, right? And the new JavaScript is more object-oriented, meaning it's a lot simpler to do inheritance later on in the class. And we learn it is right now, Carol. It's like a tree. Changing directories, not exactly, right? Because it's more like genetics, if you can think of it, right? So you share some DNA with your mom and your dad, right? And so you inherited that DNA, right? And then your children have some of your DNA and your partner's DNA, right? And then, right, it's more like that, like you're sharing some characteristics from top, right? This, although it has nothing, that is what object.prototype points to, right? Let me just show you one more time. I just did this right. Var ob equals new object. So go ahead, Mo. What were you saying?
Yeah, when it gives to null, meaning that based off genetics explanation.
No, it's like it knows like the ending time or something. Yeah.
At least it gets there, it tells you that the overlap kind of started.
Yeah, that's where it all starts, right? So over here, if I do ob.proto, this right here, when I do ob.proto, let's see. So ob.proto right here is this thing right here, object.prototype. And if I go up one more, it's null, and then we're at null, right? The property points to the prototype, right? So it's a chain, and they're all sharing properties with one another. So if this function right here had information in it, like a function or property, then this object would have it, would have access to it, because they all share that prototype. Right, and it just Carol is unique, right? She's totally different from her mom. Her mom has certain things that her mom can do, and she can do certain things, right? The objects aren't the same, right? They just share certain properties. That's it. Cool. All right, so
When you use at least one of them, you don't necessarily have to use the other, right, for a specific reason.
no, yeah, you don't have to use other. And if you haven't started reading javascript.info, definitely check it out. It is really good. Okay, so let me I sent you the files. What I would love to do is go over the file, maybe read over that page with your partners, go over it, give you guys 15 minutes, and then we will go on break, come back, do some more activity. Anyway, back to your question. So all together that function in every single object, and we can take to reduce the memory. And alter that all these workflows, and then have to have those objects. I guess it's more like the file size would be small, but the bigger thing would be you would use those like
Hey, Pavan.
and ultimately like if you're on like if you're playing this morning on AWS or something, some computer there, you want to reduce time percentage or they can use server functions like it's not too cumbersome.
Pavan.
Well, this game's online.
I mean, I feel like JavaScript Flash games, yeah. Like Flash games, like addictiongames.com. Yeah, yeah. Like a web browser. Because probably because it's interpreted language, so speed is better. But I don't know. The thing is like it may not be the optimal language, but most itself, like JavaScript, C# is better. Once that JavaScript go, yeah, everyone loves it. So JavaScript is still so useful. I don't think it's changing. So even if your primary role is your engine pattern, yeah, or whatever.
It was maybe the 10.
JavaScript. Oh, okay. Oh, really? We should make it just faster. Like it is pretty fast, but that's fast compiled language. As executing a compiled language. I mean, I think that's speed comparison. C#. Oh yeah. I mean, I used to do that. That was the internet. Yeah. What's your interest in gaming?
So we start from nothing.
Man, I have a lot of interest.
We started from nothing.
Music streaming is up there. Some music platforms. I have a couple ideas. You're really into music?
Everything.
Yeah, fairly. For a long time, I played music 5 hours a week.
So there's like no
But until we
road, they're almost like.
But one of the things about it, like thinking about the back end is like very math based, just like strong part. Oh, is it? That's what I have. Yeah. So I think it actually would be a better even. I just I took a class in C and Python. That was like my primary exposure. Yeah, so he did a lot of linked lists. Yeah, I don't here. I know all kinds of or just partner with somebody. Yeah. So I'm it's really interesting and you can actually require that. Because there's just too much for one person to ever also get to work on water and transportation systems, public transit. I mean, that's a while away. Yeah, not exactly sure what I would use programs to do that. I don't know, just like I mean, it would be like it would probably be like data modeling using simulations to optimize. Pretty good. Yeah, I read graphics, so what my some programs are like kind of yeah, how to optimize efficiency. Yeah, there's definitely
Because you can do this.
yeah, you can do different applications inside one line.
I don't know.
Where you have safety, but you also
Just that every time you interface.
the trains are going basically.
We're making it the same copy.
Right.
Again and again.
But like you said, I'm so
Oh yeah.
when we would use this.
Well, for efficiency, we can efficient we will like imagine create object You know, you have that constructor. Right? So inside that constructor, you have functions. So it's time you create a new animal or a new variable with that
You know, it's just.
with that kind of that.
They don't have
It
the swim one
will have the
line.
swim function inside.
So if you call swim, you can say it can swim. Or
Yeah, you swim, but
yeah,
Imagine
that's something I'm.
having that code or having that function inside.
Alleviate a lot of problems. Right, so I.
It's a- So what we're doing is putting that in the prototype.
Right, but say I had 1,000 of these, so if I put in the prototype, I just.
You just have one reference.
Yeah, one reference. And I change,
Yeah, you change it. So if you have 1,000, imagine if it's taking up like. It's entirely a lot.
Oh, you
Wasted anyway because it's.
Right.
You think they will do that?
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
And if you see those objects, they have a lot of function.
Yeah. Well, it's options. I think that's the time.
Yeah, usually, right?
More so than.
If you open the window, it's a top most, right?
For people to live
Or
far.
this effort, right? So.
Forcing out.
It's a really big object.
Yeah, all the charts and objects.
Yeah, then there's a.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Despite everything's best interest. For people that want we're not in a granite shelf. You know what I mean?
All right, guys, 12:51. Be back.